Hi, Jason Maraschiello here again. In some of my past videos, I've talked about this idea of true self and tapping into that true self. And some people have kind of asked me a little bit of what I meant by that, so I wanted to expand on that slightly. So to do that, I'm going to reference a teacher that I love his work, Eckhart Tolle. Look him up if you've never heard of him, some great stuff in there. And I loved how the simple phrase of "I can't live with myself anymore" was a catalyst to take him through this extremely deep and profound journey of spirituality that kind of went from that. And I remember that being pretty impactful to me too, just listening to that, "I can't live with myself anymore." And it's not so much the phrase, it's the concept of I and self. So to even say something like that would insinuate that it's kind of like a roommate situation, that there's at least two versions of the self within us, and then it starts to beg the question of, well, which is the true version? Which is the truest form of self? Which is the I? And you can spend all kinds of time meditating on that and kind of digging into that deeper. But it's interesting, we can formulate a meditation just around trying to identify which is the version of self, what is the truest version of self. Because meditation is a distraction. We basically use meditation to be the distraction from distraction. So if I'm doing single-pointed focus, I will use that single-pointed focus to distract me from all the other distractions that occupies my mind most of the time. But ultimately, we want to use meditation to be a distraction from the distractions, so eventually we're no longer distracted. So ultimately, what we're aiming for is to let go of even that need to distract ourselves from the distractions so that we can just find stillness and we can just find peace within ourselves. And only when we start to find that peace can we really start to identify with that true version of self. So you can even formulate a meditation around listening to the thoughts. And Eckhart Tolle, again, he refers to this thought process as the thinker, giving it this kind of personification. So just listening to the thinker, and a lot of time it's an internal monologue. Okay, well, I need to sit here, and I'm going to focus on my breath, and I'm going to do this. And the interesting thing, when you start to realize that you can actually observe the thinker, then it proves that the thinker is not you. If you can observe the thinker, it proves that the thinker is not you. So what is this deeper layer that is able to do that observing? And the thing about the thinker is really sneaky. So you'll find a moment of stillness where you can kind of dissipate the voice of the thinker and you'll just sit in that peace state. And then it's almost like the thinker puts on this other hat and comes in the back door and just sits there and says, "Oh, it's a good thing we got rid of that thinker. It's a good thing that guy's gone because he was terrible." But then as soon as you realize that you can catch that internal monologue again, that's just the thinker back wearing a different hat. So it's an ongoing struggle, and this is why meditation is a practice, so eventually we can prolong those moments of stillness where the thinker's dissipated. We no longer even need distraction from the distractions because the distractions are no longer there. So just try playing with that a little bit. See if you can identify the thinker and the true version of self. Because the thinker is the one that often gets us in trouble. The thinker is the one that, well, we haven't heard from our significant other in a while. They must be in a car crash. They must be, something bad must have happened, because the thinker likes to focus on negativity. So you can even identify the thinker that way. When you see that you start going on these crazy mind trails, that's the thinker. Identify it. And simply by identifying it, you're reinforcing your ability to communicate with your truest self or identify with your truest self. So play with that. It can be fun, it can be frustrating, but ultimately it will start to get you in touch with that true version of self. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.